1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Call It Anything podcast, the CIA podcast. I'm Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
All right, so we are back here today. Obviously, got a big event to cover. But first off, sir, how have you been?
I've been good, Jack. We're in the last quarter of the semester. Testing season is upon us. And there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I definitely remember this time of the year was always pretty, hectic a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. And how are you?
I've been doing pretty well. Just getting ready for the big change that is coming in my family and I's lives, getting everything set. But pretty much have just been doing well, just keeping up, keeping going with, everything. The audience obviously can't see it, but sir, you can even see it. I cut some of my hair.
You did.
Yeah, so got
your shoulders.
Yeah, got a lot of changes that have happened. But due to the nature of the events, I think it is best we keep it as short as possible because we have so much to cover.
13 matches across 2 nights and 8 hours of professional wrestling.
Yeah, so much so. Obviously, as we're talking about, it's Wrestlemania season. Wrestlemania occurred this past Saturday and Sunday, and there was just so much that occurred.
So much. Also, 4 hours of pre-show between both nights where nothing happened.
Yeah, I had told one of my... Funny enough, so I had told one of my friends that to let me know if anything happens on the pre-show, and then I joked around with him and said, oh, well, who am I kidding? It's the pre-show. We're just going to get Booker T rambling for about an hour, 2 hours at times, But, sir, heading into this show, what were your thoughts going into it?
I was super excited, Jack. The wrestling scene, and especially WWE's scene, has got me even thinking I need to subscribe to cable again so that I could watch Monday Night Raw. It's becoming so must-see.
Yeah. Funny enough, yesterday, Ricardo had me watch along with him at least a couple, I think it was maybe the first 2 hours, maybe a bit less of Raw, and it was funny, as he was having me watch along with him, I was like, this is the first time in 10 years that I have tuned in for an episode of Raw.
Yeah, I mean, it was sometime around Shane McMahon returning that I was like, I'm paying a lot of money for basically 2 shows for a countless number of channels and 2 shows. And yeah, no, the things that they're just doing, right? The stories that they're telling, it's something else. My buddy bought me as a gift an antenna for my smart TV. So actually, I've watched a few episodes of SmackDown recently in the build up to WrestleMania. That's The Rock for you, making it cool again and bringing all us fair weather fans back.
Oh, man. I will say for myself, I just wanted to make it a small little point. I don't want to go too deep into things because, again, I want to use the best of our time. But I had it as a little note to make that, you had done something similar as well. And that was getting completely off social media. Your reasoning being was you didn't want any spoilers, though. My reasoning was simply that there was too much negativity going on in the online circles, where it was just it was affecting me so much where I was just man, it's I was getting to a point where it's man, I can't even enjoy things without having to see all these different people, from all different fandoms get angry at and just care too much about what we're watching on our screens,
Yeah.
And and the audience knows through our top 10 list, I'm a big fan of Joshi wrestling, the women's wrestling out in Japan. And there was a lot of that featured throughout this week on Ring of Honor. I can't remember if they showed up on AEW, but, on Ring of Honor especially. And then with WWE, Julia was there in the crowd for Stand and Deliver. And it just annoyed me to see that rather than celebrate, these collaborations, positively and be happy about these wrestlers coming over, all you see is both sides trying to use it in their sides of the argument. And that was enough for me to just be like, I've had enough of this. I'm choosing to ignore all of this to happily enjoy, this event, because I feel like for the longest time, it has somehow, or like in some ways, affected the way I view things from either company. I was like, I just want to go in and enjoy whatever it is I end up enjoying.
Right, good for you, Jack. I hear you. Goodness. And I certainly know, no matter your fandom, what it's like to have folks on, two sides of a endless argument, just sort of, ruin it for everybody. You're like in a crowded room where everyone's yelling. You can just leave the room, right?
Yeah.
And, but the sort of converse to that is, even though I stood off social media, big shout outs to a couple of buddies who text me throughout night two, just because they're watching with their families and, we're together, even apart.
Yeah. That's what was in my mind was like, do I want to focus on the opinions of random people online that are just arguing back and forth in this endless echo chamber? Or do I want to have fun with my dad, my brother, you obviously texting me about night two, which we'll get into later. And then, of course, a couple of my friends like Ricardo, over the phone, like in our voice chats, talking with each other. And I was like, I'd rather focus on that.
Well, buckle up, Jack, because I've got a whole 6-pack of haterade ready for this weekend because I started writing things down, Jack. I'm like, oh, I have feelings.
don't worry, I got the haterade ready for night two's opener.
Night two's opener. Oh my!
But let's get right into it, sir. We talked about the whole pre-show thing. Let's talk about the fact that to people who are so used to previous times, Wrestlemania started early this year.
4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I didn't know. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention to whenever they were making WrestleMania announcement. I thought it was 5, so I was here laying in bed trying to take a nap because, like I mentioned, I'm sick.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I see my friend starts texting me. Ricardo starts texting me. He's like, "Oh, Becky Lynch and Rhea are on right now." I was like, "What the heck?" It's 4:30ish. Like what is going on?
Yeah.
Had to hop over to the living room with my dad, get everything set up. And
That's
caught
funny.
just like the last 10 minutes of this match. Well, sorry. The first match on the card.
Yeah, you caught the best 10 minutes, Jack. So I'll catch you up to speed on what you missed. Triple H came out, welcomed everyone to WrestleMania. That was exciting. There's a Prime Bottle logo on the mat. And dude wipes are being advertised on the posts.
The advertisements. We're going to have a talk about those later on, but my goodness,
Especially
the advertisements.
dude wipes. I'm like, I would have vetoed that. I'd have been like, not my match. But what'd you think of Becky Lynch challenging for Rhea Ripley's World Heavyweight Championship?
I thought it was pretty interesting. My dad and I usually do our little predictions beforehand with each other. And we both predicted that Rhea would win this just because, give her a big win over a big name. And we just really couldn't see what Becky would do with the title if she were to win. I couldn't picture where they would go creatively with it,
Yeah, I also picked Rhea. I made a note of my predictions throughout the night as well. Hey, Rhea got played out by Motionless in White, and people online thought that the guy from Motionless in White was Rhea until they were standing side by side.
Yeah, and then I saw some people trying to say that he was copying her look, and everyone was like, that's who she based her look on. But what'd you think about this match overall, sir?
I thought it was good. You hear tale through commentary that Becky was fighting a sickness of some sort, but she powered through it, and there were some big old moments.
Yeah, I found it surprising how many times they went towards the top of the rope because like neither woman really feels like that's their sort of like style or forte, you know. But as soon as they started doing a lot of that, I was like, okay, someone's setting up for their finish from the middle rope, you know. Like we're either getting the manhandle slam from the middle rope or we're getting the riptide from the middle rope, you know, something big with the way they just keep going back to these corners like that, you know.
It didn't even occur to me how often they were, but you're absolutely right, Jack.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't get to see a whole lot of this one. I did go back and rewatch some of it, but, you know, I thought it was pretty good. Real good opener for the show, especially.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught it, but Rhea threatened to do the Brian Cage deadlift superplex on the second rope from the outside.
Oh, really? I didn't see
She
that.
She doesn't end up hitting it, but she sets everything up for it. I'm like, hey, gimmick infringement.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But
Frog Splash, right? Or what's his face?
yeah, that one caught me a bit off guard.
And then in my notes I wrote, because Rhea wins with Riptide number 2 and 3. Did she hit her with multiple Riptides? On the buckle. Oh, she hit a Riptide on the buckle.
Yeah,
and
that's what it was.
Then I wrote, Jack, and Becky doesn't do a Charlotte. Which I'm very grateful for. I would have graded this whole match down like a whole star letter if she had done a Charlotte.
Oh, man, yeah. Yeah, if you've been here long enough, you know how much we've talked about our disdain for after the match, you know, camera work, where they're showing the opponent who lost more than the champion.
And, I mean, they showed Becky, but she was, you know, disappointed. She was dejected. She didn't do the old, you got me, kid. Get out of here with that.
Oh, man. But, yeah, that was a pretty good match. Pretty good opener. And then we move straight into one that sort of keeps that pace going, keeps the crowd alive. We get the 6-pack ladder match for the tag team championships. Special stipulation that both titles have to be retrieved in order to win, meaning this is their way of potentially setting up a split for the tag titles.
You know what? I like the ambiguity that they never said that outright, because reality is a team could have taken both and remained the unified tag team champions.
Yeah. But this one was pretty chaotic, especially when it came to predictions, as like my dad and I were trying to predict things, you know, about like who we thought could take these titles. But so the 6 teams involved are DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, R-Truth and The Miz, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and then the champions, of course, from the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
Do you know what Austin Theory and Grayson Waller's tag team name is?
I didn't think they had one.
I didn't know it was real. I would listen to a podcast and they call them a thing, and then they called it on TV, and I'm like, they're called A-Town Down Under. A-Town Down Under.
That doesn't even sound real to me.
That's why I'm like, oh, I thought they just made that up. Hey, that's better than the Wolf Dogs on NXT. Wolf Dogs.
Oh, man. But, so, like I said, this one's pretty chaotic from the start.
I guessed one winning team correctly out of 2.
I believe my dad did as well. He got one of them correct, I think. He had predicted that Austin Theory and Grayson Waller were going to win one because they just seem to be getting pushed more than any of the other tag teams in this match.
I guessed them as well. That was the one I got right. And when everything starts and it's chaos with 12 people in the ring, they all spill to the outside, and they're the only 2 who just start setting up the ladders.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and then as soon as they started introducing all these different ladders and then tables, we instantly started, you know, joking around, making bets about, okay, how many ladders and tables are getting broken in this match.
Oh, my.
Yeah, we saw
any spots stand out to you?
What was the spot that stood out to me the most? I think there was the one that stood out to me because of what Ricardo had said. So recently, because of, or not even recently, but ever since he's had that Money in the Bank briefcase, everyone's been making the claim that Damian Priest has to be one of the dumbest people in WWE's canon because of the fact that, like, you have an injured champion and you're never cashing in on him. But it seems like Kofi took that title, at least for this match, because you have the spot where Tyler Bate has the ladder around his head and he's spinning it around. You know, I forget if he had someone on the ladder, if he was, I forget what he's doing, but he had the ladder and he was doing that. And then Kofi gets in the ring and runs at him just to get hit and get knocked back out. And it's just like, what did you do that for?
He got hit so hard. It was an airplane spin on Finn Balor, who himself was holding a ladder.
Yeah.
And Kofi gets hit so hard.
Another spot to mention is R-Truth. Despite, previously, working it like it's a ladder match, I don't know, in the middle of it, he decides or thinks it's a regular tag match and thus needs the hot tag in order to participate in this match.
Yeah, and I love how everyone, like, plays along with him, like, in the crowd. And The Miz, who tags him in. He does the 5 moves of doom.
Oh, man. I forget exactly how it happens, but I know eventually Theory and Waller, as you mentioned, they get the SmackDown titles, and then from there it's just a race to see who gets the Raw titles, and that's when you see true chaos unfold. That's when people start getting put through tables and ladders. JD McDonough shows up.
Did you hear Michael Cole call Tommaso Ciampa's fairy tale ending the pedigree?
Yeah, I heard that.
It definitely starts like a pedigree. It definitely isn't a pedigree, but he called it the pedigree anyway. Because, LOL, he looks like Triple H.
Oh, man. I'm trying to remember who it was that got put through the ladder. I think it was Waller. Yeah, I think it was Waller. He gets put through the ladder with a powerbomb.
Yeah. I have in my notes Grayson Waller ladder spot, which is funny the way I wrote it because I wouldn't have remembered it until you described it.
Yeah, and then I mentioned JD McDonough showing up. He's the one that takes that huge bump through the tables. They push him all the way off the ladder to the outside. Doesn't break the first table, goes through the second one, but basically hits that first one with his head, basically, because you see like the little dent from the landing, but it doesn't fully break.
About the Johnny Gargano one final beat DDT to the outside onto a table, R.I.P. Pete Dunne.
Yeah, that one looks sick as well. And then it is R-Truth who gets the victory for him and Miz to get the Raw titles. Struggles a bit to find the titles when he gets up there.
Funny.
But pretty.
Yeah, that's a solid babyface win. And a nice conclusion to the story of, awesome truth.
Yeah. So, titles are now separate. They can go their own ways. And hopefully we can see some new designs for those belts.
I've heard that. Like a World Tag Team Championship and a WWE Tag Team Championship. That'd be nice.
Yeah. But from there, we move on to a tag match now. This one, it is Andrade and Rey Mysterio facing Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
This one, to me, was pretty unique how it all played out, like, in terms of getting to this match, like, with all that's happened, how they got to this point, all the different people involved, which we then see at ringside,
Yeah, and you've got LWO on one side with Rey, and you've got Legado. They're not called Legado del Fantasma, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with Santos Escobar, who is bonded with Dominic Mysterio over their hatred of Rey. Their resentment, their jealousy, their everything towards Rey.
Yeah. And then you get this match. And it was funny because everyone makes their appearance, and I'm like, why is everybody in ring gear despite the fact that, they're not involved in this match? Like, they make it looks like it's a huge, 8-person tag match, but I was like, why are none of them like in casual wear? Well, we get the answer later on in the match.
I think it begs a different question. Why didn't we just make it an 8-man tag match?
Yeah.
And like it's so many people's first WrestleMania ever, which is cool. Hey, and Andrade's second, and studious wrestling fans will remember his first was in an empty arena.
Yeah. Oh man, funny you bring that up because after the 2 nights were done, Ricky made the statement to me about, that has to be the greatest Mania ever, and I go, nah, man, the best Mania was WrestleMania 36, and he was trying to remember which one that was, and he was like, was that COVID Mania? I'm like, yeah, man, no fans, best Mania ever, wrestling in complete silence.
COVID Mania, like Hulk Hogan's successor. What you gonna do, brother? When COVID Mania, oh no.
Oh man, but getting into this match, sir, what'd you think of this one?
This one is the one I was like the least hyped for, right? And I think it played its role. It's funny, like I'm just kind of exhausted about this Legato thing, but I think it's only lasted as long as it is because Ray got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm like excited. There's a couple of moves, I guess, that stood out to me. I mean, Andrade is a beast, right?
Yeah.
Goodness.
That spinning elbow still looks good from him.
Yeah. Moonsault to the outside.
Yeah, the double cross body spot on the outside was the one that like popped me the most. So I was like, dang, that looked crazy.
The double crossbody with Ray on his shoulders.
Yeah, I was like, dang, that looks crazy. Then everyone else starts getting involved. All the people start fighting on the outside, and then they're in Philadelphia. I don't know where you see these 2 giant men come out to stop. I believe it was Dominic Mysterio from using a chair. And the entire time we're trying to figure it out, we're like, who could these people be? And it wasn't until funny enough, I didn't even recognize probably the more famous one that people would know. I recognized the other one because the moment I saw his face and beard style, that's when I realized, and that's when I put 2 and 2 together. And I was like, wait a second, is that Lane Johnson? And then that's when I finally looked back and I saw the Timbs, I saw his body style. I was like, is that Jason Kelsey? And of course they reveal themselves. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, player Lane Johnson and former player now that he's retired, Jason Kelsey. 2 Philadelphia legends here to show up and, run wild on this WrestleMania in Philly.
To the delight of everyone, and I thought of you right away, sir. There's a lot of Philly references. Like, they have other teams, but a lot of that aqua green.
Yeah, and my goodness, I mean, obviously he's an athlete, but seeing Jason Kelsey completely clear those ropes on his way in after everyone's celebrating, I was like, my goodness, this man's about to show up in wrestling now, isn't he?
Oh my. Somebody noted online that this is the second year in a row that Ray's needed help to win his match against Dominic, because last year Bad Bunny is the one that gave him the old assist, like a very famous assist.
Yeah, and then, like we said, they get the win. And the one thing I'm just wondering, that this now makes it 2 victories over, Dominic, 1 singles, 1 tag. I wonder, obviously, I think it's more than obvious Dominic's getting that retirement match against his father, but I just wonder when that comes, and I wonder if WWE's brave enough to dig into the bag of a hair versus mask type match for the 2 in the final match.
I mean, say it even though you're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Just a threaten like that. His Peso Pluma setup he's got there.
Yeah. But like you said, overall fun match. Sees the cameo from some Philly legends, and it's pretty good for what it was.
For what it was. Hey, did you think Carlito was going to turn on Ray?
My dad was worried about that happening.
Yeah. Like, the Dominic retirement match that we'll never get, that we keep thinking we're going to get. I think it's like in the pantheon of my mind with Carlito turns on Ray, joins Legato. Because everyone hates Ray. Every Mexican wrestler has to hate Rey Mysterio.
Oh, man.
Every Latino, every Hispanic wrestler has to hate Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio's not allowed to have friends at this point.
Nah. Unless they're famous athletes, musicians, rappers.
And then Andrade's next after Carlito.
Yeah, I feel like he's turned on Rey before.
I feel like that too, because I remember that series of matches they had in 2019.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But from
Where's he
one...
been since?
What are you saying, sir?
Where's he been since?
Oh, true. Well, from one familial dispute to another, we now have a brother versus brother match. We have Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Funny enough, a match that, you heard me bring up during Rumble, where I was like, I'm surprised they didn't, do anything there to, build that up. But, kind of like a lot of matches since then, we got here somehow.
It is, and that we got here, sir. And you listen, Jimmy's been popping up when he's not wanted, costing Jay multiple singles titles, right?
Yeah.
Really giving it to him for leaving him, abandoning him, I guess. Moving shows, right? The story, I tell you, Jack, this is one of the matches I was the most excited about this weekend. And I've got just a horse stable size salt lick cube amount of salt to bring to this match, Jack. Do you remember that episode? You remember that episode of Family Guy when he and Peter, Quagmire, and Cleveland put on a band, and they go to their first show, and on the stage, Peter goes, "Oh my God, we forgot to write songs." Remember that?
Yeah.
I thought of this scene and that joke immediately as this match began to play out. Oh, we forgot to plan the match.
Yeah, it was funny because, one of the things I've heard constantly going into this build-up, and one thing I thought the same too, was I was just like, this sounds like an idea better in the mind, because do their movesets really differ that much that they could have a match? I told Rick, I joked around with Ricky, I was like, this is about to be 300 super kicks back to back.
I would have taken 300 super kicks, Jack, but no, I was painfully reminded that neither of these guys are single guys. They are better served together. Hey, this wasn't Brett or Owen. This was more like Matt and Jeff. You remember that awkward encounter at WrestleMania 25?
Yeah. But, I don't know. I think all I really have to say is, I personally didn't have any expectations for this match, but for the people who did, it felt pretty flat.
I was like, Jack, I caught myself thinking about, I was too aware. I'm like, why is this bad? Why am I not enjoying it? Why am I not getting lost in it, right? I need to be lost. But no, I'm being left with, there was too much time in between moves they didn't do, right? What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Get him. Attack. It started with a leap outside, but then it slowed down to a crawl. I think the spirit of wrestling, Jimmy was supposed to lead because he's the heel, but I don't think Jimmy could lead. The one spot that they planned was Jimmy feigning, an apology. That was the one thing that they God, Jack, they just want to say yeet. Just give them a reason to say yeet. And night 2, there's a similar match that works much better because the fans want to chant something, and the match creates multiple opportunities for them to do so. Here, they're begging for a reason to say yeet.
Yeah.
He won't do anything. He just stands there and scowls.
Yeah, and to me, it's like some of the story elements they tried to do just didn't work as well. And then, they tried to do the whole Roman thing of, talking, in the midst of their match. And I think there was even a part, where, they look like they're going to make up, it's like they're looking all, emotional. And at that point, I made the comment to my dad and Ricardo, I'm like, man, The Rock has convinced this whole family that they're going to go Hollywood one day.
Oh, my. Yeah, Jack, not enough happened here. Really bummed. And now, at this point, Jack, too, I'm thinking about the night as a whole, and I'm like, what's been the best match so far? And I gave it to the ladder match I'm like, because like the Ray match was a SmackDown match, and
Yeah.
Becky did as much as they could with one of them being sick. So I'm like, that ladder match is the winner so far. Jack.
Yeah. Looking to hopefully go up from here, and then the next match is Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane, and Asuka versus Jade, Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. One could argue what you said about the Ray match. This is a SmackDown match.
Oh, but I'll tell you what, that was a WrestleMania entrance.
Yeah, the entrances were really good.
And this is a company that's built on entrances, Jack.
Yeah, funny enough, I remember one time when this one person said that like wrestling fans are here for the entrances and the finishers, and that's about it.
I sure am.
But what I mean by like SmackDown match, like I don't mean that this match was bad. You know, like I actually enjoyed a lot of this match, but like it was just hard for me to get invested in this match. You know, especially because like you know I don't want to spoil the ending. But one thing I mentioned to my dad, I was like, I'm trying to think back through the history since not WrestleMania. When was it? Was it SummerSlam 2022? Yeah, SummerSlam 2022 when Damage Control made their debut. Thinking all the way back then till now, I'm like, has Damage Control come out on top of any big feud other than EO winning the title, like Money in the Bank and the title? I was like, all I can think back to is how much Damage Control has lost. And not only that, you go into it even further, it's like, Asuka hasn't won at Mania, you know, and you're like, what is going to happen here, you know? And I'm just like, it was so hard to get like invested in this match, you know, but like I still was like, well, let me at least enjoy the match, you know, but I was like, it's going to be hard to get invested when it's like, it's kind of hard to think, you know, the inevitable isn't going to happen with Damage Control.
I agree, Jack. And this is, I think, was all built to showcase Jade Cargill, right?
Yeah.
Great to see Naomi and Andrade, right? I'm just excited they're here. They're on WrestleMania, considering where they were just a couple of months ago, right? Like, goodness, look how far we've come, right? But there is a Bianca Belair sequence I thought enough to write about. It's the 10 punches to a backflip into a couple of busters. I think that was a spine buster and a gut buster into a press, into a backflip. It was a lot of action in like a couple of seconds.
Yeah, and then I think she also had that spot where she hit the moonsault on all three of them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like you said, this was all about showcasing Jade in her first Mania. You know, she looked really well.
Sure did.
All 6 women pretty good involved, but you know, Damage Control on the losing end once again. And I'm just like, man, like I said, can't think of one moment where like they won. You know, it seems like all they've done since becoming a faction is lose, lose, lose.
You would say, Jack, that they're finding it hard to control the damage.
Oh man. But
it's okay. It's not like they're women's tag team champions too, by the way.
Oh, I know. But moving.
Oh, by the way, Jack, at this point of the night, I am reeling about night one. You know, I'm like, after Jay and this one, and I'm like realizing that ladder match was as much as I'm going to get, I go, the next match, Jack. It's got to be the one that pulled me out of this funk.
I felt the same way where I was just like, this match, this is going to be good. You know, like, I get, like, I tried to, like, tame my expectation a little bit, because I'm like, this isn't pre all the injuries, Sammy, you know, like, this is a different Sami Zayn facing off against Gunther, you know, so, like, I don't know what this could be like. All I'm hoping is it's not like Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley from Survivor Series 2020, where it was just Lashley beating him up the whole time. I don't know if you remember that match. I was like, I'm hoping for a resurgence from Sami Zayn here, especially with the story they've been building up to this point. Like, I'm like, I just want a good enough performance. When my dad and I were doing predictions, my dad was like, I don't know. I just don't think Sammy's the guy to defeat Gunther here. And I'm just like, I don't even really care if he beats him, but I just want a good match because these two are some of my absolute favorites. Sami Zayn's been one of my favorites for years. It's like, I'm just super excited for this match. And at this point, like you said, I'm just like, please deliver. Please. Night one needs something worth talking about.
What did you think of the match, Jack?
By the time it finished, I was so invested. I was like, I don't think it will be towards the top, but part of me was like, this has to be somewhere in my end of the year list by the end of the year.
Really?
I was super invested in it, but then again, that might be due to the fact that I really enjoyed both men's work, but I was just super invested in the way they told this like story of Sami Zayn, you know.
Tell me more.
Basically, you know, Sammy's got in his way sort of back in here, and there was the whole thing of like, you know, him getting to here and then people not really wanting him. You know, a lot of people wanted Gable, of course, but I just liked a lot of what they did to the point where it was like, you know, like the entrance, especially, you know, where he's there with his wife and kid.
Ooh,
that long entrance with no cuts, getting all the way to Gorilla, you know, getting hyped up by Chad Gable, Kevin Owens right there to greet him, you know, and then finally making that entrance, you know, and throughout the match, you know, they showcased just how dominant Gunther is as always, you know, just beating him with all the chops and all that. But, you know, I like that they were doing those spots where it was like Zayn was catching him off guard with, you know, his wittiness at times. Funny enough, my dad was saying that commentary was like sort of giving it away too soon, you know, that like Zayn was going to pull this off. I was so invested, I had everything tuned out by that point, and I was just focused on the wrestling that was occurring.
So I really appreciate hearing your side and your impression of that because, you know, I'm here. That Uso match happened, and I'm just full of it, Jack. And you know, Sammy gets a lot more offense early than I expected, right? And Gunther starts the commentary are kind of like, hey, he's really kind of, you know, really kind of mockingly, right? Like kind of playing with his prey, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't like this at all. Gunther doesn't play. Gunther gets the job done. Why is he going to decide to play now? And the fact that his wife was out there, Jack, the fact that his wife, kudos to her for booking it and making it to the ringside from just being in the back. But I hate it, Jack, that he was taunting her. I'm like, this isn't what he does. This isn't what he ever does.
Yeah, that was one of my nitpicks of it too. Funny enough, I mentioned that when they showed her at ringside, I was like, wait, who's taking care of the kid then? And I was like, well, if Sammy was paying attention to Paul Heyman at the Hall of Fame speech, he probably left his son with Aku.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my one nitpick was when we were getting to that point, I was like, this isn't Gunther's character really, you know? Like the only thing I can think of that maybe caused this was the Chad Gable thing, you know, about like, you know, his kids being there, his wife being there to like see Chad Gable get beat up. So like now it's like that sort of like did something to him where like now he's getting like almost like a sadistic way of like getting joy out of it, you know? But yeah, I agree. I was like, why is he doing all this? But like, even to that point, you know, because I know Gunther matches, I was like, I'm not believing it just yet, you know, like I'm not believing that Sammy's going to pull this off just yet. Because when he hit that splash, I was like, oh, that's going to be it. And then I saw him get up and I was like, I don't know. I'm still not believing this is it, you know, but at the same time, yeah, I agree with that sentiment where I was just like, why are you continuing to talk trash, you know?
Did you think, Jack, did you expect Chad Gable to be out there?
I did not.
No, because, you know, folks wondered if, like, him being out there would have played into the finish. And the fact that he was going to be, like, in his suit in the back, I think it took away from the match an important part of the story that's been a part of the story, the whole build.
Yeah, I would have liked the, you know, like how they do some of those spots where it's like someone runs down and, like, you know, is talking to them from the corner, trying to get them to get back.
That would have been great. That would have gotten me hyped. Like, you know, he's there, but he didn't have to be because Sammy's OP or something. I'll tell you what, the way the match ended, I mean, it's almost got me won over because he hits him with, like, the biggest brain buster in the history of brain busters on that top turnbuckle. And then a couple of haluva kicks. You're like, yeah, if you're going to put him down, you're going to put him down in a big old way.
That Brainbuster had me jumping out my seat where I was, because I was just like, I literally said, because I knew Ricky was watching, and he's not like he doesn't know like that far back. I was like, dude, he hasn't bust that move out since probably like Ring of Honor days. Sami Zayn, like he hasn't done that in a while.
Sami Zayn never wrestled for Ring of Honor.
You're right. He learned that from his mentor who wrestled in Ring of Honor.
Before he left to Mexico to open that orphanage, he might have taught a few guys a few things.
Yeah, but when I saw it, I was like, I will say the finish especially is probably what like boosts it up a bit for me, because it's just like that fact that like he pulled like you said, he knew in order to beat Gunther he had to pull out the absolutely like everything, like all the heavy artillery, empty out the tank type thing, bringing out that brainbuster and then the 2 haluva kicks.
Yeah, I would have preferred doing that without the wife. And I think I would have liked it more. Yeah,
and I will say, but then again, this I have to calm my expectations, because this is pre-injury Sammy. But a part of me was thinking like to get like another like, add on to the whole emptying the tank and the whole like add to a WrestleMania moment in a sense of like this match. It would have been cool to see him try and do the exploder suplex on Gunther to set up one of the haluva kicks, because it would have just it would have done more. But at the same time, like I said, I can understand if Sammy at this point after all the injuries isn't quite able to get a guy Gunther's size up for a move like that.
He lost weight.
He did, but that's still a pretty big man.
Yeah, it is. Hey, how many minutes we got, Jack?
3 minutes and 30 seconds.
We talked about 6 matches. And there are 7 left to go, because we've got the main event of night 1, and then we've got the totality of night 2.
Yeah, quite a lot to talk about still. But, yeah, closing out there for this part, really enjoyed that Sami Zayn match, but closing out here, thank you all for joining for this first part, and tune into the next one for, obviously, the main event that we didn't get to here, and then night 2.